I'm going to introduce to everyone my instructor for Tai Chi. With him for quite some time back in the 90s when I first met Dave. I'm not going to talk much about myself in regards to that, but I want to do is kind of get some information on Dave on his path throughout Tai Chi, some of his knowledge on Tai Chi and his perspective on Tai Chi, and just get a general sense of what Tai Chi is to David Nicholson. Okay, so Mr. Nicholson, how goes it?
Yeah. Oh, it's very good, sir.
Good, excellent, excellent. So if you want to give a little bit of background of pretty much when you started with Tai Chi, what led you to get to Tai Chi, and then some of your earlier influences in that regard.
Okay. Well, I suppose I'll start with myself. This is my martial training. I mean, my family, my father and grandfather, specifically my grandfather, was boxers. But back to the day of old bare knuckle boxing. And so, as my father was a builder, and I used to move around a lot. Every 3 years, I used to go to a new school. And unfortunately, if you're the new kid in the school, it ain't a good day. So I had to learn to fight rather quickly. So my dad taught me how to box. So I'll move it pretty quick. But so, like, every 3 years, a new school. Every 3 years, a new fight. And I did quite well, and I was all right at schools, and I thought it was pretty tough, really. But I was having a fight, and the kid got me in a headlock, and I couldn't get out of the headlock, and he was punching me in the face. And that made me think, the boxing's all right if you've got a bit of distance and you can catch them, but if they get hold of you, what are you going to do? And so that's what was my first thought of something outside of the boxing. And then obviously I started to look, and obviously we all saw the Kung Fu films that came out and blah, blah, blah. But there was a karate class, and I started doing karate. And I became pretty efficient at karate. In fact, I would say it's Shotokan karate. Okay. Howard Milson was the instructor. He was a bit of a hard taskmaster. I'd have been about 13 or something then, I think. Something like that. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. So what part of England were you from? Where were you? Where did you start all this off at?
Round York, really. It's round York in Yorkshire, just in York, around the area. Where I used to come from, they didn't. Well, not my time, but before my time, my father's time. If they had an argument in a pub or something the night before, they'd say, "Right, well, we'll see you in, the cattle market tomorrow, and we'll fight it out." So that's how it was sort of done, a little bit like that. They didn't have the sort of scraps that they have outside the pubs that they have today. It was like, we'll sort it out tomorrow, and everybody be there, and have a straightener. Things have changed.
Excellent, excellent. So when you went into migrated into Shotokan karate, what was your perspective then?
What of it? Well, interestingly, see, back in those days, and I was sort of explaining that, we did martial arts to defend yourself. You didn't do it just so you could go around beating people up. So you had to sort of prove yourself to be worthy to get in a class, really. It wasn't so easy to get in classes back in those days.
Yeah.
I'm nearly 60 now. It was very, very strict. I did it for a couple of years. And then, because I moved about a lot, I had to change, different areas. So my dad being a builder, so I couldn't continue my studies. So I moved to York, and that's when, this is very strange, but I actually got a job, not with my father, but working at a removal company. And the driver of my wagon, believe it or not, was a third degree Shotokan karate instructor called, I can't remember his name now, bloody hell. Shit. Mick Marshall. Yeah, my memory's going. Mick Marshall, he loved that. He's still alive. He lives actually just down the road from where I am now.
Oh, wow, I'm interested. Okay.
I know I need to go and see him. I haven't, but I really should do. It's been many years. I moved away and I've moved back again. Probably bored you with that. But anyway, so he took me on, training me, and it was 1-to-1. And he was only small, and I saw him have loads of proper fights, and he was well tough, I'm telling you. I see him lay people clean out, it was very good stuff, and I practiced really hard with him for quite a number of years, to be fair.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, did you move on to any other martial art from there, or did you? What did you move on to?
I did. Yeah, well, I did that with him for, say, for 2 or 3 years. We started a club together. I didn't feel it. He's very interesting. Yeah, he's the reason that I got into Tai Chi. Okay.
Oh wow.
Funny enough, yeah, because he had a book by Cheng Man-ching. It was the first one in print by Robert Smith.
Okay.
And he said, I don't know if this is any interest to you. I must have been about 18 then. And he said, look at maybe 19. About 19, that's when I first started Tai Chi. And he said, I don't know what it is. He said, here, you can have it. And I took it, and that fascinated me. I know there was a lot of talk about Chi, because obviously there would be, and obviously, that's mystical. And obviously at the time I thought that as well. But there's a picture of Cheng Man-ching with a guy, he's obviously doing double pushing hands, and he's got his arm in a pung posture, and there's the other guy, he's completely off the ground with both his feet, not touching. Mm-hmm. Looks like he's levitating.
Oh, yeah.
And that captivated me. That was the first thing, and I thought, what is that? So I started to look into like what Chinese martial arts was about, and I found something called Dai, which was a bit like a hybrid karate, kung fu, and now I know it to be just a thrown together load of stuff, I reckon. Okay. But they were selling it at the time because it was easy to and they doing a bit of training, a bit of snake, and God knows what else chucked in there. 5 animals, I think that they took it from. So I did that for a number of years as well, all in this round about this time period. And also Aikido as well, funny enough. I did some Aikido as well. It was Aikido, it was called, apparently. That's probably more to the source. But I did find that quite fascinating, the spirals and the locks and throws and stuff like that. But anyway, and I happened to notice in the paper a class for Tai Chi. And now I know around here, now there's a lot of stuff what we could call bogus Tai Chi, or it was made up. What that's like. Luckily, I didn't drop down that category because of the book, and it said Yang style. I was actually specifically looking for a Yang style class, and as luck would have it, I found a Yang style class from one of Chu King Hung's disciples, who was teaching in York. Okay. That's how I first came across Tai Chi. And his name was Mike Bristow. It's a weird one, but I've actually studied with quite a few of his disciples, Chu King Hung, and I've also studied with Chu King Hung, but that's the first I come across him and his classes. So, Mike Bristow, so I went to start with him, obviously. And I was still doing the karate at the time, and also the Dai and the Aikido. So it was all that going on. And I didn't really have the Tai Chi on the top of my list of things, because I was interested in it, but I didn't look at it as a martial art, just that one picture, thinking, well, that's a bit interesting. Because when I went to the class, it wasn't very martial, wasn't Mike. But because I started, and I realised, like in all these things, there's a big dropouts, lots of dropouts. Very few people make it to the end. So I found, like, after a couple of months, I was like the top student sort of thing, because all the other ones had gone. And then there's new people coming, and then because I started to ask him about what the postures were for, he started to show me, and he said, I'll tell you what, you take me, give me a lift to the bus station, train station, and then I'll show you half an hour's worth of stuff. So that's how we started to get a sort of a connection, and then he started to show me sort of the applications, if you want. I now know that that's just very basic, but at the time, that was very interesting.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you started training with him and starting to, kind of get a little bit more insight, was there any reflection on any of the things you had learned beforehand? Was it like anything you compared it to, or was it anything that was relative, or anything that you saw was more of a benefit?
Well, right, okay. Well, yeah. If you take any punching system to have power, it's got to have a connection through the body. Mm-hmm. So when you're doing Tai Chi, obviously this Tai Chi I learned from the Chu King Hung lineage, if you want to call it that, from his because he was the only one to have like internal forms within the forms.
Gotcha.
Which sounds a bit complicated, but I don't know how much you know about this, but you've got a form, and that's like the outer shell of the form.
Right.
And then, so it took me, believe it or not, it took me 3 years to learn. I think I've told this before. But it took me 3 years to learn the moves.
Wow.
The form.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, most people these days are too lazy to even last that long. It's painstaking. But because I was doing the other stuff and I could fight anywhere, I didn't really, like I said, at that time, Mike, I didn't look at Tai Chi as a way of fighting. This is what you must understand.
Yes.
I could box and I could do my washing career outside somebody's head and they won't be stood up, let me tell you. Do you know what I mean? I could do a spinning side kick. I could kick, that's no problem at all.
Yeah.
So I had a few straps and my feet and the hands could look after stuff. But I was captivated by what I read, about the Chi and, and all that sort of stuff. And the book really captivated me. So I was in for the long haul. I wasn't really bothered about it at that stage. But when I was asking the questions, so you've got these internal forms. So you've got basically, so we start first, and you don't want to go too much into depth about what people should find out for their own teachers. But basically, the internal forms give you a better understanding of the mechanism of how it works. So you've got like an open and close in relation to the back and the joints, and then you've got a yin yang form. So which moves yin, which form part of the move is yin, which is yang, and you've got open and close. Center move, where you're moving from the center, and then you've got a spiral form, and you've got a bridge coordinating the breathing into it. So basically, then you get a full body movement. So basically, you're looking inside the form, and then each one of these forms goes together on the form, and it makes it a complete form.
Gotcha.
Right. Yeah. So it's quite in depth. So it took me 3 years to learn the moves before I could start doing the other forms. Now, in that period of time, every year there was a weekend seminar, which obviously our old friend that you've met as well, Robert Poynton. I used to meet him. I didn't know him at the time, right?
Yeah.
But I used to meet him down there at Pew King Hung's down in Red Lion Square in London, and Jim Uglow will be there getting slung across the room at a rapid rate. Yeah. Oh, there goes Jim again. Yeah, across the room. Lovely guy, Jim. I do slate him, but really, he's a lovely guy. His heart's in the right place. Yeah. We were all there at the time, being all there, the master, and I mean, the stuff we used to do, and somebody's bouncing off Chu King Hung's back and whatever. Wow, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, so we used to go down there for a weekend seminar, which obviously go into great depth, and which is about the things I've just been telling you about.
Yeah.
And, So every year, and now I was the only student who was asked or was able to go down there. And I think it's because I didn't miss a class. I just trained hard.
Yeah.
The other people who didn't, no, but I think I was right at the end of it all. I think I was the only one who'd actually stayed that long. There was a woman, I think. She used to be a fourth or fifth dan in judo. I used to quite like a friend of mine, Sheila, and she still teaches in York, I think, and she was there right to the end. But she was not really interested in the martial side at all, because she was more from the judo background. She wasn't really bothered. So, but still, yeah.
Did you find a lot of other stylists, different martial artists were getting into Tai Chi during that time frame that you recognized?
No, not really. No. I mean, there was other stuff about it. There was like Lao Gaos coming up. I did a bit of Lao Ga, not much.
Okay.
Because they were getting right into kickboxing, you see, at that time.
Gotcha.
But as a way of just demolishing somebody, the boxing or the karate was pretty good, really, to be fair. I didn't need anything else. I did the Tai Chi more from the point of view of I sort of got this idea, which was like, which we could go into on a later thing about the internal and external. What's this internal thing? What's this all about? Do you understand what I mean?
I do.
Yeah. But I didn't. They didn't really talk about that at the beginning. That was more further on in time when they started to say about internal martial arts and external martial arts. You see, because like what we could say this, and we'll even at this stage of the chat, I asked Professor Lee about this, and he said, there's no internal, there's no external, they're just martial arts.
Right on.
And, that's what a statement, and it's bang on. You see, each martial art's got its little magic things to it. You know, you can't cut it. And then some people say, well, the difference is that it's because the philosophy is from Taoism, which is a Chinese religion, and Buddhism is from India, and it's the Shaolin, so that's external. You see, it still doesn't talk about like what's in the body. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
So it doesn't deserve that. It's just a martial art. It's Tai Chi, just like Bagua, Xingyi, or anything really.
Right on. So when you started to, I guess, get more experience with it and start to get a little better understanding, when did it become something where you was like, you know what, I think I can make this work?
No, I knew it could work because about that time, I started. I'm to blame for a lot of problems in the Tai Chi world. Well, I went to see Dan Doherty, you see.
Uh-huh.
This will be a little bit. I mean, I'm fleeting a bit too far forward for a minute, but anyway,
no, it's fine.
Probably about 5 years or something of doing that and going down to see Chu and seeing him do magic things, flying people across the room. Oh, that was Jim again, yeah. So, but I'm just saying, I saw him for occasionally, but not very often. He was normally flying across the room. But so me and Robert would go there, and then and obviously Master Chu would take some more money off us all, and that's how it was. And they obviously only did it on the odd person that They didn't. Well, he did it on everybody, but he did certain things on everybody that he could do on everybody. But the things that looked fantastic, he did only on certain people. Mm-hmm. And but anyway, so anyway, at that time, I'd been studying with Mike, and I used to do like my extra class at the end. You with me?
Yes.
And he was. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. To be fair, he wasn't really interested in martial arts, but he understood how it worked and he knew about it. And I did learn a lot from him, in depth.
Right.
And so that's. So I learned that from him, and then I got to a point where I couldn't really learn any more from him, if you wish, because he wasn't a fighter. He didn't want to go down that route, and he only told me everything he could. I did some double pushing hands with him, mm-hmm. and he did start to train me in that, but he didn't want to go too much into that because it isn't where he was coming from. He was more of a spiritual type of guy, if you wish, not like me. Right, and. So I actually started to look outside the box myself at that point in time.
Yeah.
And that's when I saw an advert from in London, a gentleman called Chen Ting Hung. Okay. Now, a lot of people today who studied from Dan Doherty, that was his teacher.
Right.
And Master Kim were coming over to England to do a weekend seminar. People will remember this, obviously. I've got photographs somewhere. And he was going to show the fighting side of Tai Chi, so I thought, I'll have a bit of that.
Right.
And I can tell you all about that because that was interesting, was that, mm-hmm. In itself. And I probably caused the conflict that later arose between him and Master Chu. But, you know what I mean? Yeah. Well, I stood Dan was, I like Dan, to be fair. I won't call him, he wasn't a mate, but we saw him at every seminar, didn't we? Sorry, the competition.
Yeah, right, of course he did. Yes.
Yeah, he wasn't like a mate or anything, but he was a straight talking guy. And then when they talk about people today about nobody could fight using Tai Chi, well, he did a pretty damn good job.
Right.
And when he was alive, you wouldn't have gone giving him a load of shit, like, would you? Do you know what I mean? Because that wouldn't have been very wise of you. Right. You know what I mean? He wasn't he wasn't soft, was he?
Right.
Like exactly. Nobody wanted to come to my class. Nobody wanted to come to my class and start giving me any grief. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Not to want to go home in an ambulance, but so when I went down to the seminar, he was clever. Till that point, nobody had seen freestyle pushing hands before. Mm-hmm. Double pushing hands, you can control the format. Right. That means that if you can do it, they can't. You've got, and you can look pretty clever. Really, it's a bit like doing Chi Chuan, whatever it is that they call it, the Wing Chun stuff.
Right.
So when he first did it, I remember one of his students, who's now, I don't know his name, but he's only been doing it 6 weeks, and he put him with me, and I've been doing it about 5 years or something like that.
Yeah.
And he'd only been doing it 6 weeks, and he was right what he was doing. And there was lots of people from all over the world, and everything was there. And these lads, they'd only been doing like 6 weeks of them, slaughtered us. We couldn't keep our balance.
Yeah.
You with me?
I am.
So he was making a point, you see, and he was right what he was saying, and I was 100% behind him. The only thing I did, I love the seminar, and he taught a lot of fighting techniques, and he's a great bloke, down to earth. The only thing is he wanted me to learn the complete Wu style form.
Right.
The square form. And I said, I'm not doing it again. It's the same fucking format. I ain't doing all that again. And he said, well, you've got to learn the form. So that's where we saw. I said, look, Dan, it's fantastic and all that. And good on you, which he obviously went on to do really well. Yeah. But I just stuck to the Yang style, and that was where it ended. But it was fantastic. And I got an opportunity to study with Chen Ting Hung for a weekend.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's new to me because I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and he was quite categoric about saying there's not this cheese stuff, there's a lot of rubbish.
I got you.
And he was called the Tai Chi fighter, was his teacher, Chen Ting Hung.
Mm-hmm.
He was known for when there was anything to be sorted out. Well, he'll go and fight it. He's sent one of his students.
Excellent. And now, because that was new to me. I knew you had a relationship with Dan, but I didn't recall all that additional information that you just shared. So that's brilliant to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I've met him and talked to him when we go to any of the
competitions and things. Yeah. I definitely remember that. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and obviously there was a bit of a thing because I knew the original people who were part of the Tai Chi Union of Great Britain.
Right.
Bob Francis. Can we break for a second?
Yeah, sure can.
Yeah.